So and then I went to Wasco, which is the rose capital of the world, and they have roses planted outside the prison. And there's a shot where the inmates are exercising, and they're really small in orange suits. You probably don't even notice them. And there's a rose in the corner, and then it says California State Prison, no trespassing. So I did that shot, but I checked in first. But most of the time in the valley, I would just trespass, and I'd film really quickly and then get out of there, like in all the oil fields, all of that.
Any issues in Los? Remember?
No, I just, same thing, I got permission to do the cows, so that, you know, because I really I went around all those meat places in downtown there and looked around. That was just open. I walked in and I saw that, and then so I walked in and I asked the guy who owned it, and he said, yeah, you can film, it's okay. So that was, you know, because that would have been hard to go in there and set up and shoot. Yes.
First shot of the first film was the reservoir, the water
Yeah.
draining into the funnel.
Yeah, and then you see.
Very last shot, but the water level's gone down.
Yeah.
The funnel is empty. Any symbolism intended there to the?
Well, it's just
water
that things change, you know. I mean, well, you can make a lot of silly kind of things that we're running out of water, that kind of thing. But it's just, you know, it's just it's a product of the time of the year, and that it's called the glory hole, or nicknamed the glory hole by the by the local people, and it generally doesn't spill, but it spilled 5 years in a row, and I filmed it the fifth year. Now it hasn't spilled in a while again, and there's awful stories about people committing suicide, you know. Mm-hmm. There was a young woman who hung there for 6 hours, and they tried to get her to, and she just let go finally. And that goes down 150 feet, and then it's an elbow. So you just fall into that cement down below. It's not pretty, and so it's, but it's so beautiful when it's spilling. It's just so surreal.
Is it the exact same one in both shots?
Yeah, it's filmed at a different angle.
Any other?
Is that the only instance where there's the same location among the three films?
In Los, you see a fire, a brush fire in the distance, and then in Sogobi, in about the fourth shot, I'm in the middle of where that fire was, and you see the burnt out places. That's on an Indian reservation out in the southern part of the county.
Should have a chronicle of a forest fire built in to the last two
there
films and the stages of a forest fire.
I have to think. I can't remember. There might be some others, but those I know. They have the same title card. Those two. Those are the only ones that have the same title card. So I could make one less title card. I saved money. Yeah.
Wondering, we're just about out of time, but I was wondering if you said in regards to Valley Centro that in the titles you wanted to make it political as well by seeing how the corporate. But I'm wondering at some point the cumulative effect of the film is almost like the documentation of these places, just creating a nostalgia for all these places of the state that will only grow as time passes, and the political meaning might get left as we just get lost in these images of what was.
I mean, I think the nice thing about duration is, and these are short shots, 2.5 minutes, and 13 Lakes and 10 Skies, where there's 10-minute shots, you have even more time to think. And so those kind of issues can creep into what you're experiencing. And I'm hoping that happens here. So when you watch Valley Centro, I hope after a while you see who's doing the work, and you wonder who's making the profits. You know, these are such large farms. They hardly can be family farms. And there is one family farm in Valley Centro. The fog, or the truck, the tractor coming out of the fog, that was a Mexican family owned that farm, and it was in the way northern part of the valley. But that's the only title in all of the of them that isn't corporate. I don't know, you know, I guess we always have nostalgia for the past, and you know, that Central Valley, what's happening to it is it's losing land to urbanization, and it's also losing land to just the process itself. The process of irrigating land causes the salt level to increase in the land, and eventually that valley probably will be rendered useless because the salt content of the soil will be destroyed. However, there's almost 1,000 feet of topsoil in that valley because all the rivers, that's a basin, and all the rivers that have been draining into that land for so many years brought all that topsoil down from the mountains and foothills, so it's loaded with good land. That's why it feeds a quarter of the nation. It has really, really good soil. But now that all of the rivers are dammed and they flow into a federal and state irrigation system, that topsoil doesn't come back on top, the lakes, and we farm the lake beds now. The lakes are gone, they're dried up, and they're farmed. So that whole ecology, the valley, there's only 5% of the valley that is like it was 100 years ago. So it's completely changed, and it will, I suppose, consume itself eventually. So then there'll be a real nostalgia for it, but one has to see the politics in that, right?
Is there any part of the state you feel you slighted over 3 films?
Well, it's easier to film around your own backyard, right? So, I mean, Los Angeles got some attention because of that. When I filmed the Central Valley, it was always easier to film in the San Joaquin than the Sacramento part of it because it's, you know, much closer. But I tried to make trips, especially in the Central Valley. I spent a lot of time in the northern part too. It's probably, if you would look at pins on a map, you would see that it is more heavily concentrated in the lower 2/3 than the top third. And then the wilderness, the same thing. It's much easier to find the wilderness around here than way in the northern part of the state. But I don't know, it's hard to, you can't cover this. It's a huge state, you know, so it's only 105 shots. So most films do that in the first half hour.
Any final questions from the audience? And do you have any final thoughts for now?
No.
Okay, great. We'll see you in the fall.